We spend hours and hours and hours on the side that people don't even see what we're doing to research and find the protocols, the supplements, the treatments that work the best for people.
I had so many regrets, unfortunately, of not being able to finish or complete stuff or having those interruptions in my life that left me feeling that emptiness. And so for me, that is my drive. It is having that end result and being able to say that I finally completed something, but also showing my kids that you can do anything you want, that you put your mind to it, and sometimes things are going to get in your way, but you can get past those, and you do have the strength and courage in yourself to do that.
Oh, such a beautiful story. So beautiful. Hello and welcome to the Stroke It podcast. I'm Jenny Townsend, your host. I'm super excited to have you here today. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different than any of the 103 other episodes that you may have listened to. Today's episode is going to feature a couple, which is the first time I've ever had two people on the podcast. And not only are they married, they do business together, they have children, they have remarkable stories, great insight, great advice. You're going to want to turn up this podcast. If you can get a pen and paper, get it ready. We're going to be talking about obstacles, opportunities, and your overall health, which is so important to so many aspects of your life. So, Julianne and Sean, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us. We're super excited to be here today.
Thank you, Jenny. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. So before we get in, I'm going to just kind of share a little bit about you, but then I'm going to really want you guys to really tell the listeners who you are, what season of life. First, we're going to start with Shawn. He's a master coach of nutrition, exercise, and mindset. And he's going to be sharing some personal struggles, whether it's health, colitis, alcohol abuse, or depression. He is the founder of Wellness Shop 365, and he is going to be talking about energy, weight problems, and anxiety, which we all have. So we're really excited to have him on the podcast today. And Julianne, she specializes in biofeedback, auricular therapy, and integrative nutrition. So we're going to be talking about gut health, and we're going to be talking about trauma, miscarriages, and fibromyalgia, which is so painful. And so she's been able to overcome all of that, and she's going to share her experience and knowledge and help us avoid using pharmaceuticals, invasive therapy, or needles, which is huge. So thank you again for your expertise. I'm really excited for us to share with the listeners. So before we get in, tell us about what season of life you are. We know you're married, we know you have children, but give us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, this is like the greatest time in our, well, I can speak for myself. I'll let Julianne talk, but the greatest time in my life. I mean, it's like we had a transformational period in 2017, 2018 that sent us on this incredible journey. And even as grown adults, I mean, in our 40s now, we just had twins 4 years ago. So
wow.
we have two older daughters, 17, 12, and now 4-year-old twins. So it was like starting all over again. But that wasn't the only thing that was born. And then in 2020, this business, the Wellness Shop 365, was born. And so coming from years of a structured corporate 9 to 5 set, we decided to ditch that, right? Smack dab in the middle of all the chaos and open our own business. And we did that because we knew our value and our expertise. We were able to help people on a much bigger scale than what we were doing. And I, for the first time in my life, at the age of 30, was I 38 or 39, I quit a job that I absolutely loved. I thrived there. I loved it. I loved the people I worked with and the folks that I met every day. But I knew inside, I listened to my heart, I listened to my gut, that this was the right move for me. And don't get me wrong, there's been lots of struggles, lots of ups and downs, lots of bury your face in your hand in the morning, like, what am I doing, moments. But I knew that was the right move for me. And it was a gut wrenching, tough experience to step out of my comfort zone and go into the unknown, which so many people are so afraid to do, and that's something that I can share as well.
Yeah, entrepreneurship at its finest. So, Sean, really quickly, I do want to ask you, so where did the courage come from? I mean, most people leave their job because they're not happy, they don't like it, the culture's not good, they don't like the people they work with. So, it sounds like it was really positive, and you knew you needed more because obviously you're an entrepreneur at heart. But what was it that clicked or that changed or made you take that risk?
Hmm. I mean, I'm going to take you back to when I was 11 years old, and
Okay.
my best friend and my neighbor at the time, we opened up our own lawn care service, and then in the winter we would shovel snow. We would watch neighbors' homes and pets and help feed them while they were gone on vacation, and so I always had that entrepreneurial side of me, and as I grew older, I was like indoctrinated into that corporate system or the 9 to 5 system, and I lost my way. I honestly did. I didn't know where I was going, where I was transitioning. It was just like I'm making money to pay the bills, and it wasn't something that I enjoyed. And then I did find that position. I was helping run a fitness center at a local college here in the Denver metro area, and that was where my background and everything. I loved it there, but it took me back to when I was younger because I loved what I did and I loved running my own thing. And the experiences and the people that I met at that college, I thought these are these are wonderful times. These are wonderful opportunities that I've had with these people. Now, what can I do on my own? And I remember sitting in my office and I made a list of things that I wanted to do for the college and for the facility. And by upper management and the higher ups, they were shot down. My ideas were shot down. And I thought, okay, am I just going to sit here twiddling my thumbs for the next 25 years? I'm going to have a heck of a lot of regrets. And this beautiful woman that's sitting next to me was probably my inspiration because I remember standing in our bedroom at 4:30 a.m. one morning and we were talking, and a lot of our best conversation and meetings come at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And she said, if you want to leave, I support you. Like what we're doing together, we can do this and we'll figure it out. And, having that support there. And then also with my other, family, especially my mom, having that support with them um, helped me make that decision and feel confident in it.
That's amazing. And when you say this was, 2019 or so, and you have 4-year-olds, Juliana, were you pregnant at this moment?
Actually, when was it? Two.
So
He always remembers
yeah,
dates exactly.
the actual business was born in November of 2020, so it was about a year after you
Yeah, it
had the
was a year
Oh,
girls.
after.
after you had the twins.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
I was
Okay.
like trying to think because I'm terrible with dates. He's the one, like, what you would think because I'm the female, I'd be really good about that. I am not. Let's just put that out there. And he like visualizes it and sees everything. He can tell you what you were wearing that day. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Juliana, share with us your mindset and what season of like where you are too.
Yeah, so for me, I'm I'm definitely in the mom mode. I with one of our girls, she's going to be graduating this year, so it's a a huge place for us in watching her move on to her adulthood and take the next step in her life, but then also having the twins and really focusing on them and helping build them. And then we have our middle daughter, which she's into sports and we're supporting her all the way. And he coaches her in
that's
most of
okay. I
it.
forgot to
So,
add. Yeah.
yeah, so let me throw that in there for him. But in the midst of all that, too, just being, at home, taking care of stuff at home, being a part of the business. I do a lot of the um, treatment side of stuff, and so for me, I'm really focused in on helping people in that aspect. But on top of that, the other thing is I'm finishing up school, so I'm 7 months out for my doctorates in natural medicine, and it's a huge journey for me, and it's been a stop and go kind of thing where I've struggled because I got pregnant while I was in school with the girls, and then I had them afterwards thinking, oh, I got this. I could go to school and take care of newborns because they don't need much. and I was breastfeeding, and and they were preemies. So there were so many dynamics to that, and I had to stop again. So I've been in school for 6 years, but which should have only lasted about 4.5. But I didn't give up, and that was the biggest thing. Is I was really dedicated and determined to finish that part of it, and I wanted to make sure that I fulfilled something for myself that I was really passionate about. And so that was really important to me. And I made that decision. And, now that I've gotten close to the end, like there's days where I'm really, it's really buckled down between the kids and being, and everything, being a wife and not forgetting about my husband and all these
Yeah.
different things that there were moments that I was like, oh, do I really want to do this? But I'm like, I'm 7 months out. It's just the fear, and it's almost done. It really is. And so it's really kind of navigating through those different dynamics of life as well as different things that are going on, and certainly I didn't fall short of anything, because I made sure I added everything in between doing the school, the mom, the wife, the business, and being an
Right.
entrepreneur, really, because that has been hard for us, and also very rewarding.
It's absolutely amazing. I'm thinking, like, you remind me of my mom, actually. My mom was, married, helping my dad with her business, and she was going to school as well. And I have no children. And even the people that just only have children, I'm like, how the heck do they do all these? So you're absolutely amazing. Both of you are absolutely amazing. And I want to ask you this because it sounds like for 6 years, like most people would have given up and just said, you know what, my children came, or my husband started a business, and there would be an excuse that they could validate of why they gave up. What is it that kept you going? Is it a why? Is it what you're looking forward to doing with that degree? Like, what's the light at the end of the tunnel that keeps you going?
Yeah. So in my life, I went through some pretty horrendous stuff as a child. I didn't get to school a lot. How I fell through the system, I have no idea, but I didn't ever get to finish something. And so when my oldest daughter, there was some stuff going on with her, and that was a whole nother story. And so I stopped and started a lot of projects that got interrupted along the way, and it was really frustrating for me. And when it came down to this, it was really, I have everything I need in front of me to really finish this. The support system between Shawn, my parents, his mom. I had a really good support system that is still, very much part of our lives, and we love them so much. So it was like I had everything I needed to finish something for the first time in my life that I haven't been able to. And I was really dedicated to follow through with that, because I had so many regrets, unfortunately, of not being able to finish or complete stuff, or having those interruptions in my life that left me feeling that emptiness. And so for me, that is my drive. It is having that end result and being able to say that I finally completed something, but also showing my kids that you can do anything you want, that you put your mind to it, and sometimes things are going to get in your way, but you can get past those, and you do have the strength and courage in yourself to do that.
Well, and she was fulfilling a dream. She told me since we first met years ago that it was her dream as a little girl to be a doctor. She just didn't know what capacity it was going to be in, and now she's stepping into those shoes, and that it's like it's being a dream being fulfilled for her.
Oh, such a beautiful story. So beautiful. It's so inspiring as well. So how many years have y'all been married?
It'll be 13 Friday.
Oh, well, happy
I was looking at the
anniversary.
date. I was actually looking at the date.
No worries. We will hold you to it. And at the end of the day, I know I'm just throwing those out there. And after 13 years, I know you probably I know probably after 10, I'll probably stop counting as well. So awesome. Okay. So for those that are tuning in, they own the Wellness Shop 365. And when I was spending time with them in Colorado, I had something going on, and it seemed very holistic. It seemed very much in tune with what your body has going on, and really getting inside of there. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But let's get right into the podcast, and then we'll talk a little bit more about your business and the resources that you have and some other great insight as well. So you'll want to tune in. We also will have their business listed in our show notes, and they're an amazing couple. They've been on the news. They have lots of great stuff on their website as well. So, but we want to share with everyone like how you guys do you and your marriage as well, and how important your family and your friends are to your support system to your success. So let's first talk about ourselves, which we do spend a lot of time in on this topic. So, you had indicated too that you must take care of yourself if you ever want to take care for another person. And so I want you guys to elaborate on that along with the self-care that you're doing so that you guys can be the best that you possibly can be for yourselves and for others.
I mean, constantly, a lot of people will preach the word, but they don't follow through themselves. And something for us that's so very important is, we spend hours and hours and hours on the side that people don't even see what we're doing to research and find the protocols, the supplements, the treatments that work the best for people. And we try them on ourselves. We use them on ourselves. We research the best supplements that we need for ourselves. Our equipment that's sitting across the room from us right now, we run that on us. We make sure our bodies are finely tuned, and if there's something lagging, if there's a vitamin, a mineral, a nutrient that's missing, we make sure to find that, and we correct that. And when we're operating on all cylinders, that just gives us more opportunity to help others. So it's all about you have to take care of yourself, especially. I mean, and not to mention we got two 4-year-old twins running around the house. So if we're not in good shape, oh man, it's gonna be a mess.
Right. Yeah. So when you're saying like getting the right nutrients and the right supplements, if people don't have access to your machinery and your test and those things, what are some things that we could be doing to take care of our health on a daily basis?
Sure. I mean, and that's where I would say to set up a simple strategy call with us, because we do free strategy calls for people when we first meet. That's something where we can dive a little deeper, because it really depends on what they're doing. Everyone is different, and we coach and treat on what we call a bio individuality or bio individual level, where something that works for me may not work for Julianne, but Jenny, it may work for you, but others it doesn't. So we have to treat everyone individually, but the as far as like um, three, did you say three steps or
I'm just wanting to know what you
yeah,
guys do on a daily basis for
sure.
yourselves, and Julia, maybe it's like waking up and taking care of yourself first before you
Yeah,
start taking care of all the kids and things like
correct.
that as well. So I think it's really important because you guys are juggling a lot. Not only are you
Yeah.
juggling parenthood and marriage, you're also juggling a business together. So if our listeners are in the similar situation,
Mhm.
how would you encourage them to live their day or their life on a daily basis to fuel themselves first?
It's simple self care. First thing in the morning, meditation, journaling, exercise, and you can get all three of those done in a little over an hour, if not an hour. And though just doing those three steps first thing in the morning will kickstart your day 100x. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that. But.
No, I that's exactly what I do every day. And meditation comes in different forms, so don't feel like you have to sit there in silence. I One of my favorite things to do is listen to Native American drums and flutes and stuff like that. And I usually will journal while I'm listening to it as well, because it gets me in a very calm state of mind, and it calms down that monkey mind is what we like to call it, because really your monkey mind usually tells you all this negative stuff. Sometimes you get up in a negative mood and you have all this stuff like going on that you can't think of anything else. You allow it to take over yourself, and then it starts your day off wrong and all these different things. So really it's finding a way, whether that is sitting in silence if you can, but if you find that your mind starts wandering, then maybe you should do something that has something that interrupts that. And when you have so much going on like we do, sometimes I'll be honest, I have issues with silencing my mind. So I have to do something that helps me calm it and take out the external noises or whatever it is, because I'm a mom. I pick up everything, I hear everything, so it kind of just brings me back into the center of me and my soul.
Right.
Well,
And with the, oh, go ahead, Sean.
I was saying it really helps us tune into who we are as an individual, and we actually listen to ourselves. Our bodies and our minds tell us what's going on. Like we're so engulfed in extra curricular whether it's other people, what they're doing, sports on TV, all these other things, work, that you bring home all the time. Nobody takes the time to really center themselves and listen to what's going on inside.
Yeah, so many of the listeners are parents. So how is it that you're juggling like, okay, I've got to get the kids out of the house. I've got to get this, I got to get this. So how much time earlier are you waking up prior to the kids so that you are budgeting this time for yourself?
We usually get up between 4 and 4:30 a.m.
What
and
time are you going to sleep if you're getting up at 4 or 4:30 in the morning?
no later than 9:30 usually. Yeah, 9:30. I mean 10 sometimes if there's a sports night with our daughter. Like last night was a 10 o'clock night. She had basketball. So, but I mean, we don't. The other thing is we don't abuse the sleeping in. Like if it's a late night, we'll give ourselves an hour. But even on the weekends, we still very latest we'll get up on the weekends at 6.
Are you
So
setting an alarm or your body's naturally waking up that early?
a little bit of both. So we do set the alarm if we need to, but our bodies naturally start waking up, and then you can hear that alarm, and then we just get up and shut it off. Very very rarely do we actually wake up to the alarm, but we do give ourselves those 2 hours before the kids do wake up. But most importantly, the way we structure our home and our family life, so important. We sit down, all five of us, at the table every night and eat dinner every night. There is no watching TV. There's no sitting on the couch and wandering around. And no, we all stay together. We share stories from our day. We help lift each other up if somebody had a bad day, and that's our time together. And that's so important. That's like a lost art of the American way. Like nobody does that anymore, and it's so important to do.
So I think that's super important. I think you're 100% right. We've all kind of lost that time as a family together at night because of all the different activities, parents, both parents working, then you're figuring out dinner and all of that. So you guys developed that structure. And can you give us an example of maybe one day or maybe 2 days based on a sports of like what that timeline looks like? Is it starting at 5:30? Is it starting at 6, 6:30? Because I think a lot of people want to do what you're talking about doing, but they just can't wrap their heads around it because they're so overwhelmed and they
Mhm.
don't know how they would get their entire family to buy into this because there isn't that structure, right? So can you walk us through that and encourage us or give us some insights and tips on how we can make that possible in our own lives?
Yeah, so one of the things that we like to do is in the morning, we get up early enough to set ourselves up for a good start. We get showered, we're ready to go. Then we're able to get the kids up about 6:30 is what we're looking at. And we get them started for their day, whether that's going to school or hanging out with grandma or whatever. And then we take them to school. That gives us time to come home and get our things all in order, if we haven't completely finished it, whether that's getting our stuff ready to come into the office, or maybe we're already ready to leave the house and come straight into the office. So we do that. And then really we end our day at a strict 2 o'clock. And the reason why is
That's our
because
last appointment.
yeah,
Is
it's our
to
last appointment because we have to get the kids by 3, no matter what. All the kids have to be in tow by 3 o'clock. And some of them have events going on, which would be more likely our middle child. So it's either he breaks off and goes and takes care of them, and I take care of the twins, or we all do it together. But as soon as everybody gets home, we start making lunches, we start doing homework, we get everything out of the way up front. And then that way, everything is done. We even pull out clothes for the next day. Like nothing is left. Because if you have everything where it needs to be when you're ready to go, then if something happens, like somebody sleeps in, if there's a little issue here or there, somebody's not in a good mood, it's all ready for you to go. And so we do that before we do anything else. Then it's either sports or we sit down to eat.
Family time.
It's really family time at that time. And then after that, we start getting ready for bed. Everyone gets in their pajamas. We'll do book readings. Sometimes we allow the girls to have, a show. Their favorite show right now is Bluey, so we know it like by heart, which it's really great show even for adults. Let me just tell you that. So I love that show. But anyways, we'll do something like that, and and then we'll all go upstairs and go to bed. Sometimes our middle child, she might have some homework, or she's slacked off, or maybe she had too many things going on, and so she sometimes will have to stay up later. But she's under this understanding that, you know what, that's something that you did, and unless it was on, it wasn't your fault per se, then we'll help you. We'll stay up. One of us will stay up and help her through it. But otherwise, it's like if you waited too long, you procrastinated or didn't anything like that, you're on your own. You've got to figure it out, because that's how life is. Sometimes it doesn't work out the way you plan, but if you mess around too much, then it throws everything off. And so she will wake up the next day sometimes feeling tired, but she gets it. She's like, I get why you're doing it. And so she tries to be on her best version of herself even, and we help her with that. We're like, when she gets home and we sit down for dinner, like he was talking about, we'll say, what's your favorite thing of the day? What are you grateful for? Things like that, so that she can actually acknowledge and not bypass those moments as well for herself. So it doesn't just happen for us that we do that, but it's the other way too.
And are those the conversations you're having around the dinner table when you're all seated together?
Yeah.
I think that's another thing too. Like I did a podcast about this, but I remember dinner at the table with my family. We sat down, we said grace, we said thanks, and that quality time, like when I think about my childhood, it was a lot of great, but there was a lot of crap about it. But I do remember above all us having dinner as a family at the table, and I think it's so, so important. And I just feel like we have all become so busy. We're all in the hamster wheel, and
Yeah.
we have allowed the children really to run the households and their schedules. And I think it's about parents really taking some ownership and then back onto the schedule and also saying, no, this is what we're doing. This is how we're structuring it as well. And it sounds like you have a lot of discipline in your household, which is very good because that's a great skill to have as well.
But we also, though, we want to empower our kids to be able to be great leaders, and we want them to express their voices and let them be heard, because they have a lot of great ideas and they have a lot of great things to say. And just because we're mom and dad doesn't mean we're always right. And I think that's so important for them to understand that I have a voice here in this family. I have a voice here at this table, and let them, share what they want to share.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So obviously with that discipline and you guys getting up early and having this time and going to bed together and all that, we're going to slide into the whole spouse chapter because it sounds like you really do have to have that structure so that you can create this special time and connection for the two of you. And so I really want to share with our listeners how you've been able to, make it a solid marriage, make it to where you're working together so closely. My husband and I have a business together, and then we have our separate businesses. The one business together is enough. I can't imagine like working together on a daily basis. And you guys have different personalities, and it sounds like you guys have different strengths as well. So that's probably why it works too. But share a little bit as far as your relationship when it comes to work, communication, accountability, not taking anything for granted, and what has made your marriage so strong for these 13 years.
I mean, we talk daily together about how it takes daily work to make a marriage strong, and the longevity of a marriage. We constantly work on our marriage. Even in business, like when we have clients in the door, we separate that, and it's a very professional atmosphere, which we know each other's roles in the business, which is very important. We don't step on each other's toes or talk over each other. That's very important in the business. But then on the marriage side, it's interesting because I think about this. I'm like, wow, we do spend a lot of time together. Like we're together a lot. But the one beautiful thing I can say about her is I can be my true self. I don't have to hide anything from her. I share everything with Julianne, and that's what makes it so special because I don't feel like I have to hide or confide in somebody else or anything. I don't have any like complaints because both of us don't have a problem expressing our frustration or anger with each other. Hey, I didn't really appreciate this today, or whatever it may be. But then we can work on that and talk it out. The ego gets in the way sometimes of what you're trying to accomplish together. And I've always been a proponent of empowering women, and I support her every which way that I can, every day that I can. And I remember a couple of times when she wanted to give up on school, and I'm like, no, no, you're not. We'll figure out this schedule. We'll make it work. And I had to admit my own faults, Jenny. Like that was my biggest thing is I had to say, you know what? I am lacking in this area. I am not doing things the way I should be, and I see that. I see that now. And when you are self accountable and you can admit your faults, everything changes for you. Everything.
So when it comes to your mindset with that, I feel like you have to have a certain level of awareness in order to admit your faults and be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
So talk us through that a little bit because I think some people are just either not aware of their faults or they're too embarrassed or they're afraid or they don't want to take ownership of those faults. So
Yeah. I mean, uh, all it is like stepping. I even coach this with my clients. Take a step outside your box. Look inside and see what you're doing. What are you doing on a daily basis? What are you doing on the weekend? Are you having a great week? Whether it's nutritionally or spiritually, work wise. And then on the weekends, you're destroying it by going to the bar and getting trashed or, you know, adultery, whatever it is that you're doing to destroy what or undo what you've done. That you have to look inside, and because people always want to make excuses for themselves. Well, and they justify it. I can do that because this, or well, I had such a hard week. Instead of looking at the accomplishments they made and building upon those and making things better. But when you take that step outside the box and like look at yourself in the mirror, I remember doing this a few years ago, right before we started the journey. I would look at myself in the mirror and say, "Who are you? What are you doing? And what areas of your life can you change or make better that will help you and your marriage?" You really have to have that self talk to yourself, and it doesn't mean you have to go see a counselor or a therapist. Maybe you want to, but you don't have to. It's what you have to look at yourself.
yeah, that's amazing. And I love how you're saying how so many people justify and make the excuses because I'm very familiar with that.
Mhm.
So when you say you're constantly working on your marriage, can you give us some examples of what you both are doing or what you guys are individually doing to contribute to your marriage to where you do have a solid foundation, where you're not afraid to express your feelings? Because I think sometimes we can be afraid to express our feelings because number one, we don't know how to communicate that, or we're like we fear like how they're going to react, or it's not a safe place, or we really don't know how we feel. We just know we're not happy. So if you could give us some guidance or some insight in like how we can be encouraged.
Yeah, so one of the things that I like when I'm, one of the things that I do with Shawn is I'm very blunt. So I tend to be I tend to be more of the masculine type. So I am female, I get that, but I have a more masculine personality. And he does as well, but he's more gentle around the edges. Some of that has to be back life story kind of stuff, things that kind of condition us differently. But when we come together, I'm willing to tell him how I feel. I don't hide that, and with that, he will honor that. And sometimes he might get a little flustered with me and he's like, okay, I don't like how you said that to me. And so then I'm like, okay, let me readdress this then, because obviously, even, I might be like, oh, you're right. That didn't sound very nice, or maybe let me rethink this through. And so it's really thinking of it that way. And the other thing is like when we do interact, if there's something that he's doing that I don't like, I also have to do a reflection of what I'm doing that's creating that issue, as well as if it's not something inside of me that's doing the same thing. Because it's so true, and this is true about anything you do in life. If you don't like something about somebody else, more than likely you do that thing that you don't like, and that's why it bothers you. And the thing is that that's true too with things that are good and that you do like. So if you like the way somebody handles something, or the way somebody approaches life or business or whatever, that's also something inside of you as well. You are capable of doing that. That's why you like it, because it is something that you're able to do. So it goes both ways, guys. Just know that.
Right. It definitely does. I love all of the value and the insight that you have to share with our listeners. I think so many of us can relate to you both. Obviously, you have a lot of great experience to share with us. Is there anything else that you would like to mention when it comes to marriage or spouse or overall health as it pertains to a relationship?
I mean, talking finishing up with the marriage conversation, like I've learned to really get in touch with my emotional side. A lot of men have trouble with that, and that's sometimes where spouses will butt heads. Men are very black and white, and they want it's fact this that fact. And when I was able to get in touch with my emotional side, then I could understand a lot of how she was feeling. That would help me in my conversation. Even if I was upset with her, instead of blowing up at her or getting mad, I would step back and say, okay, let's talk about this. Usually not a big deal. Usually a lot of the things that people argue about are so small and minuscule, and then it just sets them over the top. And it's things that are built up from weeks, days, weeks, months, years, and then just comes out. And man, it is so simple, guys. Communication. You got to talk to your spouse. You got to talk to your wife. Talk to your husband. Just talk. Go for a walk. Whatever you need to just talk.
Yeah, and it's finding those little things, like we do take walks together, or we do in the morning we'll chat while we're kind of crossing paths and doing our own workouts and things like that. We don't do everything together, but we do a lot of stuff together. But we do allow space, and we do allow each other to have our own things that we do that helps flourish and make us happier with ourselves and with each other. And then we also come together and we find time where it is not kid focused, and it isn't surrounded by that. And that's where we lean on our family for that, and we lean on friends and stuff, because we'll be like, hey, can somebody watch the kids this weekend, because Shawn and I want to go go someplace. We do staycations a lot around town. Or we'll just go home and we'll hang out and have, sometimes we don't even eat those nights. We'll just have cheese and crackers and some wine and
Hang
watch a
out.
movie. But it's just really reconnecting. And to go back to what he was saying too, don't leave anything where you don't speak, leave it on the table, because here's the thing: if you don't get it out, it does it does manifest. It does get
Yes.
to the point where you get so angry and so upset that you do stupid things, or you say stupid things. And so really that's when things get worse. If you just say it at the time that it happens, it's like he said, they're very small things usually. It's something very easy to fix. But by the time it gets to this point and you've allowed it to blow up past its point, then it turns into something way worse, because you've built up all kinds of stuff in the meantime too, because you're like checking off stuff like, see, this is what he does and this is how he does it. And all of a sudden you are like angry at him for something that is, I mean, like, was this big to like this big. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe I just like blew up on him and said the meanest things ever and this and that and the other. That's what happens when this doesn't get said at the time it should be said.
Yeah, and I want to second what you said about the festering and holding things on. Not only does it make it actually like a bigger problem in the future, holding on to all of that actually will impact your body and your
Hmm.
health, and you'll start to get sick. Like when I was going through some stuff, I held on to a lot of emotions and I ended up with shingles. And then it was like, then I couldn't even move my arm at one point because I had so much, I had to store it somewhere in my body because I wasn't voicing it. So, and I want to dive into that a little bit more, but I think it's really important to talk about the support system that you have, because I think that that is a game changer for a lot of relationships and obviously for everything that you guys are doing. So speak to us on how important it is to incorporate that support system, whether it's family and it's friends, into your just whole dynamic of life.
Well, we're very fortunate to have both of our parents live here in town. Not everyone has that luxury. Some, live out of state in other countries, maybe, you don't know. So we're very, very lucky and fortunate for that. But also, when we married each other, we had a pact that, we weren't just going to build this empire around, finances or business, but it was around family, and that was our main focus, around family structure. And that expanded to her mom and dad, her brothers and sisters who are grown adults, to my mom and dad, and beyond. And all of us, we get together every holiday. It's such a strong, knit group of people who support each other in every single way. And they all love taking the girls. They're excited. They want to take them to, whether it's the park, whether it's an event that they want to take them to, or just spend the weekend at their house. And a lot of times now, we don't even have to ask for them to take it. They're like, "Hey, can we get the girls this weekend? We wanted to do this." Yeah, great. And I want to hit on something that Julianne said too, really quick, is being intentional about setting dates for yourself.
Right.
We celebrate our anniversary, we celebrate our birthdays, and we do these things together. And doing that's so important. But going back to that family structure, is that we rely on them a lot, and they support us in every way.
And the friends are really important too. And I mean, like, just an example, we have a friend that her husband just had some health issues. She's up the street from us. She needed to drop her 4 year old off, and we were like, totally fine, go
Bring
ahead
them
and send him
over.
over. And it's like we built that community around. We created our neighborhood
Block
block
party.
party every year. We started doing that to build a community, and we did that because we knew there were everybody at different stages of life that we wanted to bring together. But also, if you ever need anything, if anything ever happens, you have people to turn to. I mean, I remember one time our freezer broke down, and we took food to our neighbors, and they held on to it until we got a new fridge. So, like, things like that, like when you build those communities, they're there for you through everything, whether you know it or not. They will step up and help you in any way they can.
I love the idea of building a community, especially if you're in a neighborhood that there are people, and at one point in time, you're going to need them or they're going to need you.
Yep.
And I feel like that's something else we kind of got lost. It's not like you just can go next door and borrow the sugar or ask for the sugar, because it's like, number
Yeah.
one, you don't know about them politically, you don't know where their stance is on certain things, and people just aren't as friendly as they used to be, I feel like. So if someone's listening today and they're like, I want to build a community, I want to create this block party. How did you go about doing that?
We just did it. I
We just
mean,
did it.
we
One of the
one
neighbors.
neighbor next to us, we had talked about it, and well, let me actually take that back. There was another neighbor up the street years before that who tried to incorporate a block party, who got a few people to come over, but it was mostly on the upper side of the street. And she, since got a little bit older, stopped doing it. And we then spoke to the neighbor next to us and said, "Hey, we created a flyer, a welcoming flyer, that our kids helped us pass out. And the very first year we did it, we rang doorbells, and we told them, we introduced ourselves, we told them where on the block we lived, what we were trying to do. And it was that very first year we had the majority of the block show up.
And some other blocks.
And yeah, and blocks around the corner, from us, and we say, "Hey, yeah, more the merrier." And every year since then, everyone asks us, "Are we still doing the block party this year?" And you get a chance to meet your neighbors, and we have people move in and out all the time, and we get a chance to meet new neighbors. And when you have that community, especially on your block, that knows each other, that has each other's support. We look out for each other. Our neighbor across the street, had a run in. There was somebody at her house, and we told her, we called her, said, "Hey, there's somebody over here, kind of peeking around your house." So we all look out for each other a lot.
That's amazing. Yeah, I just moved to a new neighborhood and they had a gathering. Of course, it was last week when I had COVID, unfortunately, so I couldn't make it. But I would love to have that sense of community. I know that sometimes, though, it's like, oh goodness, too close is too close for some people's comfort where they all know everything about you. And then it's like the dividing and all that stuff. But that's amazing that you guys have been able to create that community and really focus on building it, which I think some people are just afraid or they're just like, what's the point? So if you are listening, actually what's interesting is community, I'm thinking about having as my word for the year.
Oh,
Yeah, I
there
like
you
it.
go.
So
We're
anyways,
yeah, we're in the process of building our own health and wellness community as
yeah,
well.
so let's talk about that really quickly because I think it's really important and I kind of want to ask you guys a couple just health questions too before we wrap up today, but definitely tell our listeners about the community that you're creating and a little bit more about the work that you do. I'm assuming that most people can have a better understanding of who you are and can connect with you after today's podcast, but give us a little bit more about what's going on.
Yeah, so we are building out a community to help people feel like they're not alone in their journey of health. We do coaching to do one-on-one, but we also want to create that community where you don't just depend on us. You have your own skills, you have your own people to lean on, and maybe you connect with somebody better than another person or something. And so that people out there that are having the same struggles as you. And that's really what we're focusing on, is making it to where you are on the same journey as maybe somebody else. And that's why we want that community, because that's where we connect at. Maybe we have the same taste in music, or maybe we like we like dancing or something, or maybe, there's all kinds of different things that we like to do that we could build each other up. And that's the point of that community, is creating that comfort and that enjoyment, because then it takes out the work in it. You know what I mean? Because we all look at that as work.
And, and on top of that, too, with that community we're building, it's an ask us anything type. So we're going to structure 2 calls a month that anyone can hop on at any time. They're recorded as well, and you can ask us anything health and wellness. Could be nutrition, could be mindset, could be whatever is going on in your life, and we're happy to answer those questions and work through those problems.
That's amazing. So you're going to be launching this community in 2024.
Correct.
And if individuals are interested in joining this community, how do they go about doing that?
So we're going to put it out on all social, and the Zoom link will be there. We're offering everyone a month free, where they can come join and get to know us and get to know other people. And so we'll be marketing that on social media. So you'll see that come the first part of the year.
Awesome. And as we're talking about communities, for those that are, still tuned in, we all met because we were all part of a community together, and we're part of Gary Barnes's community as well. And communities are so important. I'm part of a couple of them, depending on what my interests are, or what I'm wanting to learn, and who I'm wanting to connect with. So I think that's super, super important. But these communities are a great investment, and a lot of them are anywhere from $20 to $50 to $99 a month. And the contacts and the inspiration and the education that's part of these calls. And these are, this is 2 hours a month, and it is worth the value. So if you are thinking that you want to, join a community, check out their community. Like I said, Gary's community is great. I have a community, but community is great for, especially if you're entering the new year and you have some goals and some dreams that you want to accomplish. So we'll have their community link in our show notes as well. But I definitely want to kind of go into the health and wellness thing and kind of ask you guys some questions or maybe some tips. So, obviously it's new year. A lot of people are wanting to take better care of themselves. And it seems like everyone wants to do it January, and then by March they fall off the bandwagon, right? So it's a
Yep.
new year. What are some really great aspects or things that we should be considering, whether it's diet, but pertains to our health? Like, what is the most important thing? And I know, Juliana, you think like the gut and all of that. And if that's it, tell us that. But what's the most important thing we can start focusing on when it comes to our health?
Really, I'd start with your mentals,
Okay.
your psychological side of you, because that's the first step. If you can work on getting that calmed down, that in a good place, work on building your own like structure, working through that, working through your emotional side, those things, that's going to be the most important, because everything else is going to just fall to the wayside if you don't work on that first. I'd like to say that diet is the number one thing, but it's not. It's really focusing on your, we have a wheel of life 13 things that you need to focus on and hone in on, that is really important in order to build out the rest of it. And that's where it starts with, how's your work life, how's your home life, how's do you cook, do you volunteer, is it, are you focused just on yourself, or are you focused on other people? Because everything has a place, and it also takes a toll on you mentally as well as physically. And you talked about that, when you have stress, and if it's like, let's say your home life is not doing good, but your work life is great, you're still going to have stress, and that could cause a lot of issues in the body. And so that is why that is the number one thing that you should focus on first. And then if you
And
want to take this,
well,
oh,
I
sorry.
wanted to just ask you, the 13, is that something that we can get from your website? Do you have a downloadable, whatever those 13s are? Okay, I definitely want to put that link in the show notes, because
Yeah,
as you're saying this, I'm like, this is brilliant. I mean, I
yeah.
could just see that on my mirror in my bathroom, and
Well,
just as a mental check every single morning.
and those numbers change all the time. So, and you always got to kind of readdress those areas. But if you go to our website, thewellnessshop365.com, the test is right there, and you'll get a little, score, and it'll be sent to us as well. So we'll be able to see that. But anyone who does that, actually, we'll send you a copy of our free ebook as well.
That's amazing. And then that's how they can get into your system and get emails about the community and everything that you're doing. So, okay,
Exactly.
so first and foremost, we're going to focus on our mental health as we enter 2024. And hopefully that could just go all year long. For those that are joining us, I, in the past, had to put my mental health first and foremost. And that took me actually putting things on my calendar. So, like waking up in the morning and snuggling with my husband, then going and meditating, and then working out and doing my movement. Like, I had to develop that morning routine, which we were talking about earlier, to focus on that mental health. And by putting it on my calendar, it became a habit. I don't even have to put it on my calendar anymore, because
Yeah.
it became a habit every single morning, which is so impactful, and it makes such a huge difference in your life.
Yeah, it does.
So,
Yeah, that's one important thing, is to really write that down and get yourself set up on a calendar or a structure. And then from there, it's just that motivation and doing it every day and consistency. And then all of a sudden you're doing it without anything.
And we don't want to downplay the nutrition side at all. I mean that, because that is very important. And also, if your diet is really bad, that can play a part in your mental um, problems as well. So don't we're not going to downplay the diet. And January is a perfect golden time to, and we do it every January. We cleanse. We go through a full cleanse that we do every year, and it's a perfect time because after the holidays things slow down. January and February, March, pretty slow. Things don't start ramping up until later, and that's a ideal time to get it under control and start there. But we start small. We don't just go all in and say, get rid of everything in your fridge, get rid of everything in your pantry, and eat only this, and it'll never work. That never works. So we have a great program, which is a 30-day elimination and crowding out program that we take people through, and we eliminate certain foods just for a week at a time for those 30 days, and then we readdress those. If any problems arise during that time, we readdress them. But it really helps people find that motivation and create that snowball effect.
yeah, 100%. So I used to deal with a lot of nerve pain. After I had shingles, I had this like post nerve pain or something like that. And I have found eliminating sugar and carbs reduces the inflammation to where I have this nerve pain,
Yeah.
and a lot of other health benefits as well, because they were prescribing me a prescription, and I Googled it, and it's the same thing they prescribe to people with epilepsy. And then
Mm.
I saw they prescribed the keto diet to people with epilepsy. And so, not that I'm like for keto diet or not for keto diet, but it was amazing just by changing certain things in my diet, how much better I actually felt. where I wasn't in bed with nerve pain, I was able to actually get up and go play tennis and go and do the things that actually make me happy and that feed into that mental health as well. So
When we eliminate certain foods that we think are healthy or have been told that they're healthy or don't really even know, and you eliminate them just for a short period of time, it's amazing what will happen for your body.
yeah, exactly. Well, you two are a wealth of knowledge. Both of you are very inspiring. I'm so just amazed by you. So thank you for sharing all of your insights. And once again, all of their information are going to be in the show notes where you can connect with them. Before we go, if there was one thing that we talked about today that would be the most beneficial thing for our listeners to do, what would it be?
Set aside time for yourself. Take care of yourself first, because then you can help take care of everybody else after that. And as long as you feel fulfilled, then that's going to allow you to fill everybody else's cup as well. So you need to fill yours first, then everybody else's.
I love that. Awesome. Shawn, would you agree with that or you have another point?
I would agree. I would completely agree with that. And my other point is when you start a routine for yourself, do one thing at a time. Do that, and then add two, and then add three. Everyone, like I said, everyone wants to go all in with all 200 things, and you're just setting yourself up for failure. So start with one thing, get on a nice routine, and then start adding from there.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you guys for joining me. It was so great to have you on the show.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jenny.
Jenny.
We're so
Thank
glad to
you.
be here, and we're so grateful for you.
Oh, awesome. All right. Well, if you like today's episode, once again, give us a review. Better yet, share this podcast with 5 of your friends. Most of us can benefit from great knowledge just like this. Wishing you a great day. Thanks for listening to the Stroke It podcast today. If you want to stroke me, please consider giving me a 5-star review, sharing this podcast with 5 of your favorite friends or someone you may think could benefit from the podcast, and consider joining my collective. It's completely free for the first 30 days, and you can go to jennysfreegift.com.